And if anybody doesn't know, Chris Kyle claimed that Jesse Ventura was talking bad about our troops, and was saying that it was a good thing that some of our troops died, which is totally BS. It is a total lie. And how can I sit here and say that? Because it's the same way that I can sit here and say that 9/11 was an inside job. Just because the government doesn't agree, or just because we haven't proved it in court yet, doesn't make it not true. It just means that there's a lot of people out there that don't want to recognize it. But the truth is the truth. And the truth is that Chris Kyle lied about Jesse Ventura. Chris Kyle did not sucker punch Jesse Ventura. Chris Kyle did not knock Jesse Ventura down to the ground. And he did not run after that. The timing of Chris Kyle's claim was also weird because it was 3 years after this happened. He said this happened in 2006, where Ventura was bad-mouthing the troops. And let's not forget that Jesse Ventura was one of the first people to speak out against the Iraq War while it was happening, and that got him pretty much censored, and got his show taken off. And I was watching the show at that time, and I thought it was the best show out. There was a lawsuit, a libel lawsuit, that was set to take place this coming June, sometime around this June, but it was going forward. Chris Kyle was offered the opportunity to settle out of court. All he had to do was admit that he lied and pay for Jesse Ventura's lawyer fees. Chris Kyle didn't want to do that, and the evidence is clear. And very, very soon, we will not only see the conclusive proof of that, but we will see that this is bigger than Jesse Ventura and Chris Kyle, because there are people out there, probably within our government and outside of our government, that are trying to discredit Jesse Ventura, first of all, and that are killing our soldiers, like Chris Kyle, and many other people too. I mean, this is not an isolated thing that is happening. So the Chris Kyle thing, the reason why I wrote this article was because nobody was talking about his tie-in to Jesse Ventura. I didn't see it on Infowars.com until the following day after I sent them what I had written, and then they wrote their own. Patrick Henningsen, 21st Century Wire, actually helped me spread this out too, and I really thank him for that, because it's not about me. It's not about my article or anything like that, or even the likes or the hits or whatever. All it is getting the truth out there, and this is the other side that you have not been given, and that's why I wrote this, because I wasn't going to write anything. I went to bed that night thinking, okay, well, somebody will write it, and I knew that Infowars would definitely touch on it. I didn't know how far they would go or how much they would hold back, and I was sleeping. I woke up about 3 o'clock that morning. I wrote this article, very, very short, just on what I knew about the Chris Kyle case, because I had been following it since this whole thing started. I knew that it was a total lie, and there were other lies made about Jesse Ventura too. And this was all after his stance on September 11th, his support for Ron Paul, and he's also considering running for president in 2016. But in 2012, he was considering running with Ron Paul if Ron Paul would leave the Republican Party, because Jesse Ventura does not believe in the two-party system. Like most of the people, I think, in this country, they understand the two-party system is a big, big joke. It's a big joke meant to just herd us into these different groups and labels and categories, and that's just not gonna work. So anyone who is talking about gun rights, anyone who is trying to help other people with PTSD, you do need to take precautions of who you're with, what you're doing, who you surround yourself with, and make sure that you are armed at all times if you can't be. The biggest arm that I believe we can have is this right here, is our Bible, is the scripture. You gotta have God with you. If God is with you, no evil will prosper. And if the evil prospers and kills you, that's not prospering. It's not a prosperous thing. It's just evil doing what evil does. The prospering will come because I stand with Christ. Because I stand with God. I stand with love. I stand with truth, with peace. I stand with you. I stand for you. I sacrifice myself for you if I needed to. If I felt like I was called to do that, I would do it. Just like that. Hopefully it never happens. But you never know sometimes. But what I do know is most of the comments were good on the Chris Kyle article that I wrote. Like I said, it's a very, very short thing, and I put the 2 YouTube videos of what Chris Kyle said and Jesse Ventura's response towards that. And I am really shocked that, I shouldn't be, but I am shocked that the media didn't touch on the Jesse Ventura tie. And it seemed like there were a couple military IPs that were kind of mad of the title, because it's Chris Kyle Lies Then Dies, which is true. There's nothing fictitious about that. That's what happened. And there is a connection with our former governor, Jesse Ventura. This is all true. So, some of the comments on there were really funny. I think most of them were probably just trolls, like my friend Frankie was saying. They're probably just, that's what they do. Try to discredit things and blah blah blah. But it's not going to work, because I think we got like 5,000 hits in like 3 days, which is for me is really shows that there is a big story here, and we're gonna stay on this story, because there's gonna be a lot more coming out. And what happens in June, all of you haters and all of you people that say that I can't prove that Chris Kyle was lying, come back in June. Come back when this case goes to court, and then see. What if the case doesn't go to court? Well, then you're going to have to use the same logic you used for September 11th, for John F. Kennedy. And if you think that those were not an inside job, then I can see how you would think that Chris Kyle didn't lie about Jesse Ventura. I totally see it. I think you're wrong. I think you're full of crap. And I think that's just what you're telling me. I think you know better. I think most people deep down inside, the reason why they made such hateful comments, probably because they really know. They're railing against truth, not against me. It's kind of like how some people say that God isn't real, but they rail against it. They don't want to hear it, and we don't talk about that. Well, you shouldn't rail against something that you don't think is real. I don't rail against Santa Claus, because I know Santa isn't real. So there's no reason for me to sit here and get all mad about people telling me that he's real. Who cares? Who cares? But when we talk about truth, this is exactly what we're talking about here. Jesse has made it very, very clear that Chris Kyle did lie, and Chris Kyle has never been able to prove his claims, and the witnesses, when you stack up Jesse Ventura's witnesses against Chris Kyle's, it's a big difference. It's a big difference as far as who the credible people there, and as far as knowing that nobody else went forward with this for 3 years. I mean, Jesse Ventura makes that very, very clear, and it's hard to really think that for 3 years, all of the attacks that they were trying to run on Jesse Ventura, they were saving this one for when Chris Kyle's book came out, and nobody else not only saw it, nobody reported it, nobody sent it to any news outlets or anything. Chris Kyle's claim is basically crap. And you can say, oh, you shouldn't talk about a fallen person. Oh, this person's dead. He can't defend themselves. Well, you know what? The truth is the truth. Are we going to stop talking about the Rockefellers because some of them are dead? Did people stop talking about the Rothschilds because they're dead? Should we not talk about Hitler? He's dead. And on and on and on. So it's just a really stupid thing, and it shows how childish people are. And maybe my responses to them were very childish too, because I take this stuff seriously, and I take it personal. Because there is a group out there that does seem to be systematically killing truthers and going after people that talk about truth. But that doesn't mean that those people are squeaky clean. You can see that in Abraham Lincoln. There was a lot of bad things that he did too. Martin Luther King wasn't a saint. John F. Kennedy definitely wasn't. These guys were not perfect, but they were human beings. And they weren't killed until they started speaking out against truth. And perhaps the same thing happened with Chris Kyle. He was killed because he was starting to sound like a truther. He was starting to sound like someone who understood that Obama is not our dad. He's not like our dad. Nothing even close to that. I only have one father, and that's the Father in heaven. That's it. That's the one that I follow. I don't follow man. I don't trust man. Don't trust man. Don't even trust me. Trust in the Lord. And that is the only reason why I'm here. That is what has brought me here. Without him, I'd be out doing my own thing. I'd just be running around, going to parties, having fun, doing drugs, drinking, doing all this crazy stuff. What do? I drink some wine. Oh, wow. You know, I don't really go out. I've never been to a club. So I performed at a lounge. Technically, it might be considered a club, but that's just not me. That's not my thing. And I was never happy. I was never fulfilled until I started seeking truth. And it was only after Alex Jones's movie, The Bohemian Grove, that really showed me that this is not only a spiritual battle, this is a physical battle, and they are one. We are fighting it on the same plane, which means we are going to win. We are going to win. When you separate the physical and the spiritual, it's like you're only seeing half of the story. You're only seeing half of this war. You're seeing the war on the ground, but you're not seeing the one that's being fought in the higher places, behind the scenes, in the command centers, and all that. And that's what the spiritual battle is kind of like. There is a bigger battle that we can't see, but we know what happens. We know who wins, and it's not the devil, and it's not evil. It will not prosper. It cannot prosper. It doesn't know how to prosper because it doesn't like to prosper. It likes to destroy. And everything will die. Everything will die. So why fear it? Why fear death? Why fear evil? Why fear any of these things? The fear of God is not a fear that he's going to beat the crap out of you. The fear of God is how much you love him and you want to be loved back. And I understand people don't feel that love the way that I felt it. I feel it right now, just saying these words. I feel this strong sensation, a tingling sensation, vibrating through my body, just going through my body that is just lets me know he's here. He's here right now with us. Nothing to fear. So, as we go on, we will have more on the Chris Kyle story, the Jesse Ventura tie-in, and I am going to prove to you, you naysayers, that Chris Kyle was a liar about this. No, that doesn't discredit everything else that he's done. It doesn't mean he's, the worst person. He was a human being like all of us. And nobody should kill any other human being. So, this Eddie Routh guy will definitely pay for his sins for killing. And I want Jesse Ventura to be vindicated, and I want the truth to come out. And I know that it is going to come out if you want to see it. If you don't, you won't. But if you want to see what the truth is, it's out there. And the truth is, Jesse Ventura didn't make the claim. He doesn't need to prove anything. Chris Kyle made this claim. He needs to prove it. And unfortunately, he's not with us now. I believe that he was told to do this. Who told him might be the same person that took him out. So we definitely mourn that. And I know this is a tough time for Jesse Ventura now too. It's an even more tough time for Chris Kyle's family and his friends. And so if the article comes off as disrespectful, I would challenge you to read it again. Leave a comment, because now my comments will be a little more calm than they were that first couple days where I was really fired up. Now I'm gonna really kind of step back and just let the military IEP people, let them continue to make their little slanders and try to coerce me into some fight or whatever, or just try to, you know, disprove everything that I've said, but they haven't disproven anything really. So people don't like the title. You don't like the title, then don't read it. You don't like what's on TV, turn the channel or turn it off. This is what it is. And I'm not backing down, because this is true. And I challenge you to prove me wrong. But you can't. We know who lied. There's no question. The only question is what you choose to believe. And that's your choice. So, thank you for watching.